Here we have Neca's 2010 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive T-1000 liquid metal figure. What a mouthful, what a figure. Now, due to the year he came out, I guess you could say he's part of Series 3, but I'm a firm believer that San Diego Comic-Con exclusives aren't part of a series. Well, I mean, they're part of an exclusive series, but it's a standalone figure. If you've seen any of my older videos, you already know I'm a huge fan of the liquid metal figure and the liquid nitrogen figure. I think they were two of the best T-1000 figures due to the paint jobs, due to the exclusivity of them. They were both hard to find. He is a simple repaint, but he's a good simple repaint. One that catches your eye, one that stands out of the crowd. I guess that's what made him really good for a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. I really like posing him with my other Terminator figures. He's really good for end scenes, battle scenes, especially when you want to transition him from one to the other, because obviously when he got caught on fire, this is what you would see. So it's really cool to be able to take those pictures. Fire and figures don't really mix, but if they did, I'd have a lot more of those kind of photos. The only real gripe that I have about this figure is it was really hard to film him. Lighting a liquid metal figure is not easy. Metallics and, shiny things don't work really well on cameras, especially whenever you have to shut off the daylight. But other than that, he came in that traditional clamshell packaging, which I miss. I miss it so much. Nothing to be said bad about the boxes. I mean, the boxes are pretty cool too, but this was action figures when I was growing up. The clamshell to me says action figure, whereas the boxes say more collectible. And I guess this is a collectible, but I just like old school. Always have, always will. Can't knock it. I miss the spines. The spines are always one of my favorite parts of the packaging. And I kind of feel weird saying that because you know me, I cut them open and I rip them apart. But that was another thing that made the clamshell packaging better. It rose the stakes. If you cut this open, that was that. Whereas with these boxes, you can open them up, take them out, take pictures, and then people put them back in and try to act like they never opened them. So, something to be said about having the stakes rose and to know that once you open this up, that's it. It's open, and it's on your shelf. I'm cool with that. We'll start with accessories, because accessories matter. Here we have the hands, and these are the ones that actually came on the body. Sorry about the camera. So, he had these, just open hands. Like he was offering. But I opted for the other one's obvious reasons. Now, it's the same hand as all the original ones. They just repainted it. But one thing that I found really interesting is this spot on this hand kind of matches one of my old ones, which I thought was a defect, but apparently it was maybe part of the molding. I love just the way they did hands. They were one of the first ones to do them right, and to be able to have them pop in and out. And as you can see, even though these are the original ones that came with it, there's no paint wear on the ball joint, which is pretty cool. The paint didn't chip off bad on this figure, which is something you don't really find a lot. Paint chips really bad for a lot of figures. And the other hand, same thing. This one doesn't have any veins on the back of it really, but the cuts right here, I don't even know what that is. And I'll tell you what, that's kind of crazy because this figure is years old. That looks like something dried on the fingers. Interesting. Because I've had this figure since, I believe I bought him in, 2015? Something like that. On eBay, back whenever figure hunting on eBay was fun and not ridiculously freaking expensive. Here is his shooter finger, which I opted to go with the open hand for holding his gun. I'll show you why here shortly. But once again, we're just really nice. No paint wear to the ball joint. A little bit of a vein right there, which is pretty cool. But, all in all, just 3 hands. Nothing special. Knuckle. I used to always get so excited about how the knuckles were cut into it. I was like, oh, I mean, that's back whenever figures first started getting really cool, though. So there you go. You got 3 hands. Nothing crazy, nothing special, just repainted. But let's take a look at the figure himself. Here you go. He is a beaut. Here we have the other hands that came with him. Now, you have the Pinocchio hand, is what I've always called this, and I enjoy it. And then you have your semi-grab gun hand, or your gun hand for the other one, and your all-silver gun. These guys, same kind of pegging, and you can see once inserted, 360 degrees of articulation on this side as well. Now, I want to say something about the Pinocchio hand. It has been years since I got this figure. I'm an out of the little loose. I'm an out of the package collector, so I've had a lot of issues with this finger bowing. And I will say this, as you can clearly see, this one hasn't bowed. It's looking good, looking real good, and I'm happy about that. I don't know if it's the paint, but for some reason, it's withstood the test of time, and I'm a pretty big fan of things that withstand the test of time. And once again, just like the other hand, 360 degrees of articulation. However, you can see right here, look how loose that is. That's real loose. It's also old, and you can always fix ball joints like that by adding extra stuff to them. Let's go ahead and take this out of your hand. And as you can see, his fingers are really soft. That gun came out no problem, and it's been in there for years. I haven't taken it out in a long time. Here you see the weapon. Usually I give you guys a full rundown on the weapon, but I haven't had time to research this one, and I've got a lot going on, and I'm doing a lot of videos right now. But look how it's exactly like the other ones, the only difference being the fact that it is painted metal. And I talked about this in one of my older videos. I'm really big on the fact that they painted this metal, because in the liquid nitrogen, like cop patrol guy, he came with a black gun, and the entire figure was blue, and I was like, why would you? But this one, bam, liquid nitrogen, liquid metal, pretty much. Let's look at the head. Here we go. Here you see, he looks just like him. He's a good-looking guy, and I've always loved how square the jaw is and how intimidating he looks. As you can see here, the head does turn all the way around. There we go. So you get the full articulation. He can look up about that far. He ain't gone any more than that, but he can look down pretty well. He has a, ooh, I like that, where he's just pretty much glaring at you. Yeah. He's on the hunt. And then down here you have the shoulder build. Now, one of the things I've always kind of thought about this was, even though he's liquid metal, the lines, it looks kind of like how somebody would do wood. And obviously he's not wood, he's liquid metal. But, you know, even still, I like what they've done here, because a lot of times when you do a repaint of a figure, or you do a repaint of an original build, you'll lose some of it. And this one, badge is looking nice, everything's crisp. He's fully covered in the same paint. There's no blotching, it's not like build up or anything where, and I really appreciate this. This is another thing I'm happy about. Even though it's old, the joints are still tough, right? Now, you do get that full 360 degrees of articulation. Man, I really like how tight that is. It goes up, it goes down, and this was after Neca got past their really thin arms. This was one of their first, like, bigger builds. Right here, you've got the hinge joint. It actually goes both ways. Now, this is something that happened a lot on my older figures, where the arm would hyperextend, and it would go the other way. But, you know, it doesn't really bother me. I don't move them around too much. And here you can see, even with that 360 degrees of articulation, it loosens it up. Like, that's very, ugh. And he wasn't, you know, that's like throwing a really limp pitch at a baseball game, is what that looks like. On the other side, you will see, same thing, 360 degrees of articulation, bends up, bends down, the arm spins around, bends up about the same. Gives you that, no you didn't, no you didn't. But, you know, it's not as fun to pose, like, as the Ultimates. Sorry, I didn't mean to say pose. Because the thing is, it actually is more fun to pose these. Because they'll stay in their stance better. Down here on the belt line, you have my complaints. Everybody knows I don't like this. I hated on the old NECA figures on how whenever you twisted it, you would have this bulge here. And you could clearly see, you know, I was never a big fan of that. Won't say anything bad about the sculpt because just like on the other figure, it's the same exact belt. Nice little pouches. You got this guy right here who was connected. But once again, gotta love that wooden gun carrier, even though, you know, it's soft. It's held up really well over the years. Right back here, same patches. And just like with the liquid nitrogen figure, this is attached. You will not get it off the belt line. That is where it belongs. That is where it lives. The legs, really nice sculpt on them, but classic NECA legs. And I say classic in the way that there is no bend. It stays how it is. It's not going to change. That is what it's here for. And down here on the feet, you will see a little bit of bend, not much, and a little bit of give up and down. This is the nitrogen peel foot. And once again, a little bit of up and down, not much, and a little bit of side to side. Ooh, a little bit of looseness right there. But all in all, solid build to the legs. The old NECA figures had a really solid build to the legs. Now, some of the newer Ultimates, they get really loose. But these old guys, I can stand them up pretty easy. You know? They stay there. I knocked him over, not his feet. From the old dollar coin pose. Doesn't he look like a dime? He does. He kind of looks like a dime. Whatever. Old figures. I don't know if the Ultimates had any of these lines on the head because, to be honest, I don't own any of the Ultimates, like, at all. He has this little line right here you can see on the face. Look how serious he is. He's saying, don't you dare. Don't you dare. But not a lot more to review because there's not really much more to him. He's there to be stood up. Not on dates, ladies. Meet with him if you say you will. Trust me, if you don't, you ain't gonna like it. Not one bit. No, you didn't. And here we have him with all of his brethren, which is a beautiful sight to see for a collector and a terrifying thing to see if you're walking down the street or in a horror movie. Who would want to see 4 T-1000s just coming at you, looking like that? Absolutely terrifying. And that's that. I think it's pretty easy to tell why it's one of my favorite figures of all time. It holds up well over the years, nice paint job, and it's, you know, it's a classic. It's nice to take a look down memory lane and see some of these figures that we don't have anymore. They never did an ultimate version of this. And you know what? I'm glad they never did an ultimate version of this because they did ultimate versions of all these other ones that I collected over the years, and it kind of takes away from the essence of them a little bit, you know? But I love every piece of my collection, every single piece of it, and I'm going to do what I always do, which is keep on collecting. That's it for me, guys. I really appreciate you watching. Thanks, and until the next one.
In an insane world.